What's up, guys? It is Dan from FightWave, and I am incredibly excited to have today's guest on. We've had him on twice already on the FightWave programming. We had him on before his fight against Robert Whittaker, where he's told us right then and there that he would finish Robert Whittaker. He did that. We had him on right before his fight against Sean Strickland. He said he would defeat Sean Strickland. He did that. Everything this man has said, he has done, and he has done in an accordingly fashion. He has even said before, Dricus Du Plessis, remember the name, it will be a household name for years to come. He came, he saw, he conquered. I am privileged to be joined by Stillnox right now from South Africa. Dricus, thank you so much for your time, brother, and congratulations on your title victory.
Oh, thank you so much. What an introduction, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing journey and lifelong dream that's realized. This is not the end. This is not this is one step in the right direction for the ultimate goal eventually. But yeah, to this point, everything has been going smooth. Well, not necessarily smooth, but the hard work has paid off, and it's good to be back, man. Good to be talking with you. Not as a contender, but as a champion.
No, yeah, absolutely. And, just looking back on everything that's happened, Dricus, it's been absolutely remarkable to see just how far you've come from your UFC debut back in 2020 to now. 4 years, and you've taken the scene absolutely by storm. I want to take things back just to the week of UFC 297 to kickstart the interview and ask you just about the overall experience of going to Toronto as a new city. I know you've spoken highly about the city. Talk to us just about the experience during fight week in Canada and what it was like.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, here in South Africa, we don't see a lot of snow. There's snow mountains around, but quite far from me. I'm not very used to. I know snow from when I was fighting in Poland. That was so it's great. It's great. It was cool, but I had to say Toronto was cold as shit. It was that took some getting used to. It was it was very, very cold, but the city was amazing. It was amazing to be there. It was amazing to see another place in the world. And that's one thing also about this, being able to see the world and as part of your job is pretty cool. And yeah, in Toronto, there was nothing that I disliked except for, for a couple, maybe a week. That's cool. But after that, the weather really starts to take its toll in Toronto. But it was amazing. Obviously, the fan reception didn't go my way, but it would have been weird if it did, because up until this point in my UFC career, I haven't been a favorite too many times. I don't think once when walking out. So I've grown quite used to the boos, but at the end of the day, there's noise, and I love the noise. I'm there to prove people wrong, but mostly I'm there to prove people right, the people that do believe in me. So if I make fans out of some people, that's added bonus, but at the end of the day, I believe that will be done through my performances, and that's what it's all about. I went there and became world champion. So Toronto will always have a special place in my heart, because that will for always and forever be the place where I became champion of the world.
No, yeah, definitely. And another thing you mentioned, which was actually what I was just about to get into, was the overall reception around that fight weekend. You mentioned becoming accustomed to the boos, but I feel like you've actually even grown some cheers since winning the belt. And I know you've kind of not necessarily flown under the radar, but I know since the fight, you've kind of been all around just doing a lot of media obligations and just really, taking in and smelling the roses for a little bit and being able to be around South Africans and seeing the love from them. Talk to me just a little bit about being able to have that experience and really prove yourself in the octagon, eliminating the rumors, the 5-round DDP, beating the no cardio allegations in Toronto, going 5 rounds with one of the best middleweights in the UFC right now, apart from yourself. Talk to me just about that overall reception, being able to go into that fight and perform and win over some fans.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big point to prove. That was a big question, and maybe even a question I had myself, because I go out there and I put up a pace, and I've gotten tired, after fixing the nose and fixing the mistakes we made with the conditioning and gas tank. We've been, it wasn't a matter of not training hard enough. It was a matter of doing some things wrong and not necessarily looking at the whole aspect when it comes to the conditioning. And we fixed that. That's what we do as a team. We get better every time. And going out there and proving my gas tank, and actually as the fight progressed, I was starting to put the pace on, and and I was going forward for 23 minutes in that fight, and I didn't slow down once. It was so it was a massive point to prove, and everybody was like, Dricus gases, Dricus this, Dricus that, and I went out there and I proved it. I was so happy. It was the first time in my life going past the third round, and as I went to the corner in the third, I said to my coach, "Oh, this is amazing. I feel great." And I was actually happy that we're going to it. And I honestly didn't think it was a split decision. I thought it was a unanimous decision. I didn't think the fight was that close. It was a tough fight for sure, but I don't think it was that close. But when I went into the fifth round, then I wouldn't have wanted to do it any other way than the way it happened. I would maybe, if I could have gotten a finish in that fifth, it would be great. But to go out there and prove that I can do it, to go out there and prove that you don't only have to deal with me for a round or two, you're going to have to deal with me for the full 25 minutes. And there's very few people on earth that can do that. And kudos to Sean Strickland. He's one of the toughest men on earth, and he proved that. He was in there for 25 minutes, and he ate big shots, and he kept on throwing. We both took big shots, and we both gave our best. And big ups to him, because he's an absolute beast.
No, yeah, definitely. And I'm of the opinion that I thought you won that fight personally. I thought you had mixed up the overall mixed martial arts game very efficiently in that fight. And more importantly, like you mentioned, just a fight that I think you really proved just how skilled you are and your evolution as a fighter from your debut to now. We really saw that culminate in this title fight. Talk to me just about seeing the skills progress, seeing your improvement as a martial artist through the course of your UFC run, and just looking back on how many improvements you've made that have led you to assume UFC gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think up until the Whittaker fight, I don't think we've been able to see what I have to offer, my full package in terms of what I have to offer in mixed martial arts. I've shown that I have a ground game. I've shown that I can land takedowns. I've shown that I can screw it up. I've had good fights. I've had worse fights. But I've always been able to pull it through. There was accumulation of things that added to that. Like I said, the new cardio that helped being able to breathe, that played its part. And of course, going into the UFC, it's a different ball game. I believe my first 3 fights in the UFC was me at 50% of what I'm capable of. I had better fights outside of the UFC, not only because of the opponents, but because of how comfortable I felt. When you go into the UFC, the pressure is there, and sometimes that you want to win so badly that you are a little bit desperate to get that win, and that's when you make some mistakes. And of course, every fight we go in there, we try to be better. And when I started finding my feet in the octagon, that's when what I do on the training mats can display in, I can put that on display in the octagon. We always knew then, me, my coaches, my team, we've always said, when we are able to, the Dricus that's here in the gym, copy and paste him in that octagon, there's not a man in the world that will beat me. And we're getting closer to that. And then, of course, keep on working. Not only the Dricus of a year ago, but the Dricus of now is by far. I honestly believe the Dricus that trained here today on these mats finishes the Dricus that fought Sean Strickland or Whittaker or any other Dricus within a round or two. We're constantly evolving, and I just can't wait for the next fight and to go out there and prove that I'm even better than you thought I was.
No, yeah, definitely. And when we spoke to Cameron Simon, ahead of his last fight, he said, the way that Dricus trains in the gym, you take that Dricus that trains in the gym and put him against Sean Strickland, he's finishing him the next time around. And, just on top of that, you talk about the gym and the momentum you guys have got going. I know you and, fellow teammate Mark Hume was actually on this season of The Ultimate Fighter, had fights that same weekend. Talk to me just a little bit about the excitement of being able to share another fight week, not necessarily with Cameron, but another teammate that has the makings of an amazing fighter in Toronto. I know he fought in Toronto. He was successful in that fight. Talk to me a little bit about him as a talent and just also the growth in the gym, because I feel like since you've won the belt, we've seen the growth in the gym probably grow tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. On the commercial side of the gym, it's hard to put into words of the fight. Looking at the kids' classes, that doubled immediately. Seeing how we have talent from all over the country. It's a lot of pros from all over the country that realize, listen, these guys have the blueprint. These guys have done it. Let's go. We want to be the best in the world. And then, of course, the biggest one of all is walking on these mats, seeing the guys that I've trained with, and seeing, a lot of time guys would be, they rock up at training maybe 5 minutes before training. We don't tolerate being late, but they'll rock up here 5 minutes before the session. Still be called, making jokes, and I'm for that. We always do. But now we say, and then spend the first 15 to 20 minutes just warming up in training. That's not what we're training for. When we start training, you need to be fit. You need to be warm. You need to be warmed up. You need to be ready to go. And now I see I'm always here an hour early. I'm always the first on the mats when it comes to the pro training, because I spend an hour warming up and working on the techniques we did yesterday, just to make sure that today, if we run through that again, I don't start again where we stopped yesterday. I have this. It's, we're professionals. That's, you come prepared to a training session. And now all of a sudden, when I get here an hour early, some of the guys have already had a session, or I already have some of the pros on the bag. And now that makes me work even harder, because I'm the champion of the world. I need to be I need to be what they look at and say, that's what I need to do to become. I need to set the standard. And that was mission accomplished for me, because now I see these guys that I believe can be right there where I am right now in the gym. They can be in the UFC and they can be world champions, but now they can live up to their potential, because they saw what I did. They saw Dricus training over here, warming up an hour early. Yeah, it might make a difference, maybe just a little, but it's the small differences. It's the cooling down, the warming up, the extra, call it sit-ups, if you will, afterwards, the extra neck training, the small things that add up, that makes the difference between being in the UFC and being a world champion. And now I see these guys, and the other thing is, some of these guys that I train with are beasts. They look at me now and they go, Dricus is the champion of the world. I've hit Dricus in sparring. Dricus has hit me with these hardest shots in sparring. I've taken down Dricus. I've stopped his takedowns. So that means there's a certain level of now they believe they can also do this. And that's a powerful thing. If people, and that's one of the most amazing things that I feel I've accomplished, is to show everybody in this gym and in South Africa, the fighters, and even outside of fighting, that even though it seems impossible, there were many stages in my life where I thought it won't be possible. Here I am today. And all that the small arriving earlier. And now everybody's doing it. Now the team says, listen, this is what it takes. This is what it takes. And everybody believes it. So that's amazing. And at the end of the day, it elevates the level of the team, which at the end of the day elevates the level of training partners I have. And that's just growing every single day. That's growing every single day. I'm looking at the amateurs we have. I'm thinking and look at these amateurs, maybe guys 2-0, 3-0 as amateurs. And I think, if I had to fight these guys when I was amateur at their age, they would kick my ass. And I was unbeaten as an amateur, K1 and MMA. And I thought, if I had to fight these guys, same age, same experience, they would kick my ass. And that's just that's the next generation coming through, and it's amazing to see.
No, yeah, definitely. You talk about just setting the benchmark and showing that it can be done. Coming out of South Africa, which I know for you has been a focal point throughout your career, is showing that it can be done regardless of where you are in the world, and especially in South Africa, being able to add to that infrastructure, growing and raising the level, fine-tuning it day by day, night after night. I know for you, a big part of you is just wanting to be able to prove to all South Africans and everyone across the world that you can have it be done. And I know for you, just walking through that airport, it must have been a very emotional feeling coming back to South Africa after assuming UFC gold. And in the 6 months that you've been there since being champion, the reception that you've gotten from South African fans all across the country. Talk to me a little bit about the support you've seen since assuming UFC gold and what it's meant for you just to be labeled a hero by the South African community.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in any athlete, for any athlete, having that hero's welcome back after a lifelong dream, a lifelong journey, career. I've been at this for 15 years and professionally now for 11 years. That moment, walking into that airport and I thought there might be a couple of hundred people. There were thousands. It was crazy. There were thousands of people. And seeing that, it's, even after a maybe 28-hour flight. Getting back there, it felt like I had all the energy in the world. And ever since, I mean, me training, the support I've been getting from South African, corporate South Africa, the support I've been getting from people all over, from the schools, seeing kids when they see you, it's not, they see a person, it feels like they are seeing something that it seems like they are just looking at something they out of this world, and seeing their eyes light up. And, that's, it's almost undescribable. It's the most incredible feeling. And now going out there again and defending the honor of my country, of my people, of my flag, and wearing that flag. And once again, that feeling is incredible. And, once you have that additional support of your people, and, seeing how proud my country is of me, it's a motivation that I can't really describe. It's so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than my own goals, and it means the absolute world. So, for South Africa, if the South Africans see this, I'm so grateful, and thank you for all the incredible support, because that made it all even more worth it.
No, yeah, definitely. And I've noticed just on my page alone, South African fans, I think, might be one of the best fan bases, if not the best fan base in the world. The love that they show for their athletes is unbelievable. What I think I've seen in my time covering this sport coming out of South Africa, and you just winning the UFC gold amplifies that so much. And I know the journey for you and Cameron Simon, I know there's a photo from you guys ages ago, you 22 respectively and Cameron 15, of him becoming a national K1 champion in South Africa, and you assuming your first, EFC welterweight championship then. And the journey you guys have both come on since then, it's night and day. And overall, just the love that you guys have gotten. Talk to me a little bit about, just seeing how far you and Cameron have come, because I know he's an incredible young fighter, an incredible person. How far you guys have come, looking back on that photo and seeing just the development of both of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, that was a special photo. He actually sent it to me, and he said, because he got a memory on Facebook of it, and it was 8 years ago. And, I was coaching him personally. He was getting private session lessons from me. I was still coaching then. And, I remember the first day he stepped into the gym, I just thought, this guy's special, because I really didn't want to coach him. It was a big team sponsor, and that was part of the agreement that I would coach him twice a week. And I thought, I don't have time for this. I'm training for a title. And the first day, he walked into the gym. I could see his eyes light up. And I told him to kick the bag, and I was like, well, that's pretty impressive. Cool. Didn't make anything of it. Showed him the technique, said, when you kick, do this. When you punch, do this. And he came in the next day, as we did 2 days in a row, the next day, and he did it perfectly. And he said, no, he went home on his bag that he had at home. And I immediately went, wow. And 2 weeks later, this guy was already, I said, you're ready to take a fight now. Full contact K1, let's go. And he was beating the brakes off everyone. He had his first national championships that year. He came second. He lost to a guy older than him, and also with much more experience. The next year the next year. I was 21 when I started coaching him. And the next year he became national champion. And that just showed. I saw in him what I felt in myself when I was his age. He was just willing to do whatever it takes, and that's something you can always work. And I know if his last 2 fights, he had a heart. It took some losses, but against good opponents, very good opponents. And one thing we always also have to realize, Cameron he's been 23 years old for 6 months. He's a kid, in all honesty. And that's where I believe that was the one thing that maybe got him in those fights. And mistakes are made. At the end of the day, when you fight at that level, I mean, look at Talbot. That was an incredible performance. And things didn't work out on that night. What you do now is where champions are defined. What you do now after this fight, and Cammy is back at it. I want him to even rest more, but he's so adamant. So I've no doubt in my mind that he's going to do great things in the sport. If you see that man's work ethic, you will almost feel bad for him that he had to take a loss to become the better fighter. But you have to in this game. You have to, at the end of the day, chase what it feels like to not win. so you can appreciate that and always think about how much you miss the feeling of winning. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him that he's back at it and he's in a good space mentally. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't how anybody wants. Nobody wants to lose. But now we are back at it. We know what to fix, and I'm very excited for his career. And of course, my own career. You know, where, like you say, from that photo, how far we've come. We were just two guys with a dream. You know, he was 15, I was 22, but in our minds, we were chasing the same thing, and here we are today. So it's been absolutely incredible.
No, yeah, definitely. You talk about almost needing to take a loss sometimes. Not needing to take a loss, but in a loss, you see a lot of evolutions that are made. And I know for you right now, the excitement towards the division is kind of up in the air for a lot of fans. But I know for you, there's a lot of prospective challenges right now. And obviously, 2 weeks ago, we had Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. And, you know, Strickland, after your guys' fight, came out, said he won. We saw an absolute shit show from the Strickland fans coming out and trying to defend his honor, his grace. You and I on the receiving end of that kind of hate wave a little bit. But, you know, talk to me just a little bit about the division, your thoughts on that fight, and just the amount of moving parts at middleweight right now in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, the middleweight division is there's almost like a wave of new guys coming in, and I'm very excited for that. I was one of those new guys. You know, right now, you know, guys that with my experience with they just not, you know, they are not the household names yet. You know, I'm champion right now, so that got me into that position. But I'm almost also one of the newer faces in the middleweight division. And there's a lot of guys coming through. I'm excited for it. You know, Sean Strickland, I believe, for him becoming world champion, made him realize how good he really was, and made people realize how good he was. Because let's be honest, if Sean Strickland was not the guy to get a next title shot, he wasn't even close. And you know, he stepped up and he proved that he can beat anybody. And that almost tells you a story about the middleweight division, that the number 7 ranked guy can beat the world champion on any night. So very exciting division at the moment. I think you know, with Khamzat and Whittaker fighting, I think makes it that's a very interesting. You know, that's a big test for Khamzat, and that's a big step for Whittaker in what's next in his career, because you know, he needs that win if he's going to stay in that run. And obviously, I have the world's respect for Whittaker. I think he's one of the greatest athletes ever. And you know, for Khamzat, you know, exciting prospect in the middleweight division, because he has this aura of he hasn't been beaten. So, you know, should he beat Whittaker, I would love to fight Khamzat. And in my opinion, should Whittaker beat Khamzat, I don't think it warrants him a title shot. Honestly, would love to see him and Strickland fight it out for number 1 contender fight. But if not, you know, UFC, I was willing to fight Strickland, Adesanya, Khamzat. I'm champion. I need to fight who they give me. I want to fight the best guy. And obviously, Strickland fans were like, fight him again. And I said, guys, I will fight him again. I don't make that decision, you know, because I guess there's a place where I can step in and say, I don't want to fight that guy. But at the end of the day, if I had to fight Adesanya, Strickland, or Khamzat, I would not have a problem with either of those, because it's good fights either way.
No, yeah, definitely. And I know there was a lot of back and forth about that UFC 300 slot, and you've came out and said, you know, just wasn't the timing. The timing wasn't correct for UFC 300. But talk to us a little bit about just the lead up to UFC 300, the back and forth. I know Adesanya was, if I remember correctly, the slated opponent for that matchup or for that card. And, you know, right now there's a lot of back and forth about who your next opponent is going to be. What can you tell us about just UFC 300 and maybe it not coming to fruition, and maybe the potential next opponent? Because obviously the name that's been circling around everyone's mind has been Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, like, and listen, let me tell you this. So people go, oh, you didn't want to fight Izzy at 300. Guys, did you see the fight of myself and Strickland? But it's also people who's never been in there. You know, I believe people who make comments like that hasn't even been in a real fight in their whole life. But I don't care what they say. I don't think they realize what the UFC offered me to take that fight. I don't think money-wise people realize what I said no to. And why on earth would I not want to fight the guy that lost to the guy that I just beat? You know, and people are like, yeah, you dodging. I'm not dodging. I don't think people like, I won't say numbers because I don't like it, but I don't think people understand the amount of money they offered me. to fight at UFC 300. You don't understand the bitter pill it was to say no to that fight. Now, I had a broken foot. What do you guys want? The fight was 8 weeks after. What do you want from me? So it was, but I mean, I didn't really care what the people will say around that as well. The only thing that bothered me was that I couldn't fight. I hate to say no to any fight, but this is your career. You have to be smart about it. Look at Alex Volkanovski. He took a fight, and I actually went over to him at the PI. And now, when I was there for UFC 300 to go watch it, and I went over to him and I said, listen, man, I know you're his teammate and you've always said and obviously with Rob, you said I was going to get my ass handed, but that's your fellow countryman. So I understand that. But you are an absolute badass. I said, listen, you are one of the craziest guys in this sport to go out there and just step in for anything, as a champion, stepping in on a week's notice. That is so badass. But what happened? What favors did that do him? Yeah, he got money for sure. That's not why I do this. He got money, but he got knocked out because obviously you didn't have time to prepare for that fight. And do you think that anybody went, oh, but he took it on short notice? No, everybody went, he got knocked out. He still got knocked out. So had that loss. Then lost his title, and he didn't get any credit for that. He got credit, and some people, everybody's still like, Volk is such a badass, but he still doesn't have a title. And, he got knocked out in the first. It didn't pay off for him. So, I think he's a badass, but you have to be smart in this thing as well. So, yeah, for Volk, he stepped up on short notice, and that makes it. I mean, I understand short notice, 3 weeks, yeah, but on a week's notice against the best pound-for-pound fighter, it's a tough ask. But mad respect for that. But I'm not going to fight and, put it on the line if I'm compromised. If you've signed a fight and you get injured in training camp, that happens all the time. But signing a fight when you're still injured makes no sense at all. So, yeah, I mean, it was an obvious decision. I wasn't even feeling bad. The only thing I did feel bad was not being able to go out there and fight because I'm a warrior and that's what I do. And obviously saying no to that amount of money was a touching story.
No, yeah, definitely. And, you talk about just being methodical with your UFC career and just your mixed martial arts career as a whole. I know for you, activity is something you pride yourself on a lot, but if the body's not right, the body's not right. And you make sure you kind of heal up and make sure you're 100% for every outing. And, with the lead up for this next fight, I think everyone is asking themselves that $1 million question of when's Dricus' next fight? And, we talk about Adesanya being this next opponent. There's history there. I know there's footage of you and Adesanya dating back to years ago of you guys bumping into each other. Well, I think you were actually sparring Volkanovski, if I remember correctly, in that video. You're sparring Volkanovski, Adesanya bumps into you, and then you guys just carry on like nothing happened. There's a lot of history with this matchup, and even though he's coming off a loss, it's a fight that could shake up the division in so many ways unimaginable that I feel like it's not being talked enough for the hype that it leads up. Talk to me a little bit about the perspective of facing Adesanya as a next opponent and maybe the negotiations, if you're allowed to get into that, of course, about this next fight.
Yeah, for me, I'm in. I'm ready. I've agreed to everything. I'm ready. I want to do it. That's the fight I want. I called him out after winning the belt, and that's the fight the fans want to see. I mean, and at the end of the day, that's the fight I want to have. That's the guy I want to fight. And for me, let's just announce this thing. I don't know what's the holdup. I want it to be announced. I wanted to go if that's it. I don't know. I've said yes, 100%. I don't know from his side. I don't know what the story is. I don't know what the holdup is. Maybe the UFC is waiting for something. I'm not sure. At the end of the day, I've agreed to it. If they had to phone me today and say we're doing the Sean Strickland second fight, I'll be great. Let's do it. If they say no, we're going to wait and do the Hamzat fight, great. At the end of the day, people go, why are you not fighting? It's been 6 months. Guys, I don't make the fights. I said I'll be ready to fight in May. That's 3 months after fighting for the 4 months after fighting for the belt. I was ready to fight from then on. I just wasn't ready for UFC 300. I had a 6-week recovery before I could start training on my foot, and that's 2 weeks before the event. So I'm sorry, I don't know. Once again, people who've never been in there, and then of course, after you've taken shots like that, you need to let your brain recover. You have one of those, and I'm not smart as it is, but I can take a punch. So I need to keep that baby fresh. And but at the end of the day, is when I was ready, there wasn't a fight. There wasn't an offer, a fight on the table. I don't know how people think this works. Do you just show up and you fight? No, that's not how it works. There's a schedule. There's fights, locations that make sense, fights that make sense. So for me, if we can do 305 in Perth, I would love that. I would love that fight. And I've been ready for it. I've been like I said, I've signed. In terms of agreeing to everything. I've said, cool. If that's the fight they want, let's do it. Let's do it. And now I don't know what we're waiting for. To be honest.
No, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a hold up from his side or if it's the UFC, waiting for the right time to announce the fight. But yeah, I'm 100% happy with that fight or any other which fight they want to make.
No, yeah, definitely. No, your game to face anyone, anytime, anywhere, depending on the circumstances, and you've shown that time and time again. And Dricus, for you, I feel like the love from the fan base, we talk about turning haters into fans and turning, critics into supporters. I know for you, it's not always been the road less, it's been the road less traveled for you per se in terms of fan base, but I really feel like the love you've gotten, and I feel like even now the tide's starting to turn a bit. We're seeing people saying, he's an underappreciated champion. For the road that he's had, it has not been an easy path to say the least, and he has shined, he has won in shining colors in each matchup. Talk to me a little bit about that reception. You're seeing the tide turning a little bit now, and what does it mean for you just to see the fan base kind of easing up, getting off that Strickland copium per se, and coming back towards seeing greatness as it is?
Yeah, I mean it's always great, to make. There was it was Strickland chants all around in Canada, but by the fourth round it was the whole crowd turned, and that's not being arrogant about it, and it is. I actually said it at the presser. That's what's going to happen, and it's not. I don't care if they like me as a person. If they don't. We're not here for a personality contest, are we? I will generate fans with my fights, and putting up exciting fights. As a fight fan myself, I know what I like to see when people go out there. People who go out there and leave it all in there. People who go out there and sit looking for that finish. And there's nobody in the world. If you like me, great. If you don't, it's fine. But nobody in the world can say I don't look for that finish, and I don't go out there to fight from the bell, from the first second of the first round to the last. I go out there and I try to finish, and I try to put up the most exciting fights for the fans. And that's where I like to be respected. Now, if it's not as a person, don't care. Not a personality contest. But as a fighter, I love to be respected because I know what I put in, and I know what I bring to the cage. I know what I bring to the octagon. Every time I step in there, I put my life on the line, and I leave it all in there. And my record speaks for itself in terms of finishes and performance bonuses.
No, yeah, definitely. And I know we talk about critics and supporters, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask about this. And I know there's a certain guy, people say he who must not be named in the MMA community, but I have to ask you because I know he was in South Africa, and I know Cam did a podcast with him. I got to ask you, what was it like meeting the MMA guru? Because I know he's a polarizing figure, and I know there was a photo of you two, and he looked incredibly tall. I got to ask, one, is he that tall actually? And two, what was it like meeting the guy?
Let me tell you this. I'm a fan of his stuff. I've enjoyed his stuff. I'm a fan of the MMA guru. Always have been. So he calls out people, and it's really funny. And I think he does some of the stuff. He says some of the stuff that nobody wants to. And he actually came to South Africa, and he came to our gym while we were training, and he let me know he was going to come to the gym. And when he walked into the gym, I could not believe my eyes. I promise you this. That photo, I saw the photo, might be a little bit exaggerated. He didn't do it. It was just the angle of the camera, I think, because we were standing and the camera was pointing up. So it looked even worse. But make no mistake, the guy is at least this much taller than me. And I honestly thought that he's a short, fat man. I promise you, that's how with a beard, I thought he was going to be a short, fat person. And when he walked into the gym, he's not fat. he's in shape. He's in a good shape. He looks like an NBA player. He is. So listen, he's not in crazy like ripped shape, but he looks like you wouldn't walk past that a guy in the street and say that is a fat person. No ways. I was honestly surprised on how big a human he was. He's tall. He was a lot skinnier than I anticipated, than I thought. No, I was shocked, and once again, nice dude. It was really cool to have him here in the gym, and having a little talk with him, and obviously him seeing what we do here. So that was really cool. And then of course we got him tickets to the local show EFC, where myself and Cameron was champion, and quite a few of them on these mats. It was the same night, so he went to the event and he enjoyed it quite a bit.
No, yeah, definitely, and a polarizing character. But I gotta say, for those that love his content, he's done a really good job on YouTube, and just as well. I gotta highlight this too. I know we're doing a bit of a quick fire right now. We know you for Dricus Du Plessis, UFC middleweight champion, but we did not expect to know you for Dricus Du Plessis, the Masked Singer. Talk to us about the experience of going on the Masked Singer, and shocking. I guess the MMA world with your singing skills.
Yeah, man. So I love instruments. I've played instruments since I was 9 years old. Quite a few. Did a little bit of piano, more drums and guitar. And I love music. So I have in like musical shows done some on stage playing guitar and singing as a backup guy, but never like that. But I mean, that was when I was still in school. I still play guitar and some instruments, but when they asked me for that, we had quite a busy schedule, with training, which is obviously the priority always. My assistant went, the Masked Singer, and I've never heard of it. I said, no, I don't want to do anything. We're too busy. We're too busy with, stuff, meet and greets and, training stuff and with some sponsor stuff and, making content. And I said, no, I don't have time for that right now. And the next day he came back and he says, they really want you. And I said, what is the Masked Singer? I'm not going to be a judge on some singing show or anything like that. No, I don't have time for that right now. And it was actually my girlfriend who said, do you know what the Masked Singer is? And I said, no. And she showed it to me and I said, wait. So they want me to sing on this show. And I said, but what? And I said, so I have a mask on. Nobody knows it's me and I can sing. And they said, yeah, pretty much. I said, well, that sounds awesome. I said, that's so cool. Let's do it. I mean, it's completely out of your comfort zone, and it's a challenge. I said, and it's a competition. So I was like, this thing, I'm going for the win. And it was such an enjoyable show. And obviously when I got unmasked, they told me, okay, now you sing the song without your mask. And I went, oh shit. Okay. So. And then I actually did it. So it was so far out of my comfort zone, something completely different, but man, so much fun. And, it's, it was so much fun to compete in something, which it's completely out of my zone. So, win, lose, it doesn't really matter. It's, doing something for only the fun of it, while still, getting that kind of butterflies, walking out on the stage in front of people. It's kind of nerve wracking, especially, if you've never sung in front of a crowd before.
No, yeah, absolutely. And, just the uncomfortable and the comfortable, definitely an experience to remember, I would say. And Dricus, I want to thank you so much for your time and just for the, the love that you give it, your team and, Team CIT have given to FightWave, and just, always a pleasure to chat with you and be able to pick your brain. One of the best representations of a champion we have right now, with the class that you exude and with the confidence that you exude. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you in the UFC, cementing your legacy for a very, very long time. And I want to give a special shout out to Coach Mornay Visser for what he's been able to build at Team CIT. And also, I know he's in the back, he's been lurking around, but I swear to God, these interviews would not be possible without him. I want to give a special shout out to Wayne Harrison for what he's been able to do with CIT and, working with you guys, facilitating the interviews. And on a final note, I guess, what is your message to the South African community, the Dricus Du Plessis fans, and anybody at home who may be watching this interview?
Oh man, well, thank you for the praise of my coach and obviously Wayne and the whole team. Like I said, we as a team, me individually can't be where I am. We as a team, we have something special, and that's why we are where we are. Everybody has their role, and of course, Coach Mornay is the godfather of the team. He's done this single-handedly. out of pure passion, and look at where we are today. So yeah, thanks for that shout out, and I'll make sure they get that message. And then of course to the fans, the South African fans, and the CIT fans, and the people that support us, whether financially, just with the love and praise, and that motivates us. It motivates us because you don't want to let people down. We don't want to let people down, but be sure that when I defend my title, it will be in spectacular fashion. And the next fight, it's going to be special, and I can't wait to go out there and have the flag on my shoulders and represent this country in the best way possible, and make our people proud, and show the world, South Africa. We haven't been noticed in the fight world ever before, but we are here, and we are world champions for a very good reason. And as the fans grow, and how many people are following the sport of MMA right now in South Africa, not just because of me or Cameron, but watching these UFC events every weekend, and the sport is just growing, and I can't wait to see more champions coming from home.
No, yeah, definitely. And I feel like if people didn't know the name Dricus Du Plessis back then in the Trevin Giles fight, they definitely know it now. And Dricus, congratulations on all the recent success. And, just what you've been able to do has been amazing to see from a fan perspective, from a coverage of the sport perspective. And I cannot wait to see who you fight next. Adesanya, 305, wherever it may be, whoever it may be. I know Dricus Du Plessis is coming in to put on the performance of a lifetime. And to the fans at home watching, do be sure to check out Dricus Du Plessis on social media. I will be linking his socials in the description down below. It's from me, Dan from FightWave. If you have gotten to this point in the interview, do be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day, guys.